Hi, everyone. It's Diane Brennan, and today I'm feeling really compelled to talk about the absolute importance of forgiveness. And the surprising thing that when you truly forgive and release any resentment, hurt, those negative feelings about a person and an event in your past, what that can do for you. I think it's going to really surprise you. So, practicing forgiveness is something I've done for a very long time. I tend to do it like immediately when something comes up. I tend to, if I think of somebody and or something from the past that there's been some kind of negative thing that's happened, and believe me, I've had quite a bit of that in my past, like most of us have, right? Even if it's been minor stuff. um I do it in that moment. It's been a pretty regular habit now for me for I'd say going on 2 decades. But I never realized what it can really do for you. Now, this saying is attributed to the Dalai Lama, that holding on to resentment towards somebody is like swallowing poison and waiting for the other person to die, or swallowing poisoned wine and waiting for the other person to die. I've seen it both ways. And it's so true, because it's not hurting them, not at all. The only person that hurts at all is you, yourself. That is in your energy field, and it attracts things still because you haven't released the pattern. When you haven't released the pain, you haven't released the pattern of that. And so that pattern is still in your energy field, and you will draw in more things that are negative, more things that are harmful, more people that hurt you. The more you can forgive, the more you release that out of your life. So it's very important. There is a practice called Ho'oponopono, and this is actually very ancient Hawaiian medicine. And it is 4 phrases, and I've seen it in various orders. This is mine. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I've seen it quite often with that one that I put in fourth in the first position, and then going in the rest of that order. Whichever way you do it, doesn't matter. But Ho'oponopono, you are tapping into a whole bunch of people who are doing this around the world at various times. Like there's somebody somewhere else, at least one person doing it at the same time you are. There's that many people. That has been proven to be a very, very, very powerful forgiveness mantra. And when you do that, you're not just forgiving within your energy, like releasing that from your energy field, you are impacting the collective unconscious, or the collective consciousness, whatever. The hive energy to which all human beings are connected into. Right? So that is one reason it's important to do forgiveness. Or, so there's 2 so far. 1, for your own energy. 2, for the collective human consciousness. But then another one, and this was a surprising piece of information. I am currently reading Code of the Extraordinary Mind by Vishen Lakhiani. Now, if you don't know who Vishen Lakhiani is, he's the founder, along with his now ex-wife, of Mind Valley. I've always been a pretty huge fan of his since I first came across him. He's very charismatic. He's very knowledgeable. Um, he like gives out a lot of really good information to the world. And this book is amazing. His story is amazing. If you've never read this, I highly, highly recommend this book. All right. Code of the Extraordinary Mind, Vishen Lakhiani. And in it, I'm reading now about his experience with forgiveness. It's interesting how he came into a practice of forgiveness. Was he actually went to a workshop that was about measuring your brain, different exercises, trying to increase the state of alpha waves. It was called 40 Years to Zen, I do believe. Hold on, I'll double check that. 40 Years of Zen. Because apparently this person's program gives you the same results as somebody who has done anywhere from 20 to 40 years of Zen meditation. Okay. And so he was all like, yeah, because Vishen's all about that stuff. And, you know, the focus on their sessions, he says in here, was to reach that state of alpha wave brain activity in order to be more creative, to be more Zen, to be in, he puts like, to have a higher state of creativity, more relaxed mind, and better problem solving abilities. And in general, many of the same benefits that one would get from years, decades of Zen meditation. And what surprised him, they did many different exercises and they tested all the brain waves, your alpha, beta, theta, delta, you know, they tested all of that. And he said nobody said it was actually a workshop about forgiveness. He did not expect that, but it was what put everybody into a much higher state of alpha wave activity in their brains. That really spiked it. And the deeper the hurt was that was released, the higher it spiked. And I mean, he says in here, and he makes a very valid point, and here's a point I've always made about it. Forgiving something is not about saying it's okay. It's not about allowing anybody to do that to you repeatedly or anyone else to do it to you again. It's not saying it's okay. It is simply releasing that negative energy out of your field. And he takes this one step further and talks about forgiving into love. So he's got a process in here that I have not yet tried because I just kind of do a quicker way. I go back into it. I think of the event and the person, and I do the Ho'oponopono. And I release it, and it's gone. So that's my way. In this workshop, they did a specific protocol, and part of that was about like kind of going back in and feeling that moment, being in that moment, feeling that emotion. And then trying to see why that person may have been somebody who would do that, somebody who would hurt you that way or hurt others. Were they abused as a child? Were they poor? You know, if you were stolen from, say, were they poor and they learned to steal at a young age because that was how they had to survive? what may have made the person do what they did and act the way they acted towards you. To move into compassion and then love for the other person. And so I have some things I'm going to try that with and see if that brings me into an even deeper state of forgiveness for some of those things from my past. To go in and try to actually think of things that may have made them the way they were, and thereby have that compassion. Because compassion and love for a fellow human, that's where we're supposed to be coming from, right? That is what humanity at its highest is. And that's like the state I'm striving to always be in. That's my goal here. And so I'm going to give that a shot and try it, because that's a step I have not taken, to actually, try to get into their mind and their history. I mean, I do understand we all have a history. You don't get to a certain age without having one. Like I've always said, you don't get to 18 without baggage. Sad to say, but that's true. In today's world, you do not get to 18 without baggage. So lighten your baggage. Do some forgiveness work. Go deeper into it as you go along. And try to go even just beyond forgiving it and letting it go, but into finding your way to love for that person, where you could even just sit down with them if you ran into them tomorrow and have a conversation and walk away okay. It's something I'm going through too, because of everything within my family. Having just lost my mother and my sister, I was already starting to do some deeper forgiveness work, because we have a lot of family trauma. And, my mother was the root of it, but I have to look at her past and see what made her that way. And we had some conversations when Dad was sick, and we had these long drives. We had to drive an hour each way to go see him in the hospital. So we had all that time in the car together, and we had some really, really long conversations and deep conversations. And I asked her more in depth about her childhood and her relationship with her parents, because I don't remember her and her mom being really close. And, my mom was somebody who couldn't say, I love you. Hanging up the phone, I'd say, I love you, Mom, and she'd laugh and say, okay, well, I'll talk to you next time. She couldn't say it back. I don't remember my first real hug from her until I was like 40 and getting my third divorce. And I'm not saying she didn't hug me as a kid. If she did, I just don't remember it. She was not the lovey-dovey, touchy-feely kind of mother. That was my dad. My dad was that person, that parent. And so since her death, I've been working through some of this. And then my baby sister, she was an alcoholic. And some of that had to do with the family trauma in our household, the drama and trauma that we all grew up in. And some of it had to do with other things in her life. So I've been working through forgiveness with her on a soul level now that she is over on the other side. And, I feel like that is actually being very effective. And I'm releasing a lot of things. I'm understanding. I've gotten some new insights into her that I didn't know. And that broke my heart. It explained a lot. But, you know, there's still like a lot that just needed to be released. So that's been part of my process of dealing with her passing. And, you know, I wish it was something we could have done in, you know, together in this lifetime, that it hadn't had to wait until then. Try with the people in your life. Sometimes doing the Ho'oponopono and doing some of this, like you are releasing and forgiving, sometimes that brings healing to the other person as well. And sometimes those relationships can end up being healed. So I'm not going to say it's going to result in that, but it can. It depends on the other person and how open they are and what their path was coming in. Like, you know, what did they come in for lessons? And how well are they doing them? You know, you can't make it happen, but you can do it for yourself and do your part of it. So give it a try and see how you feel, and see if you find that it shifts your energy and it opens up your creativity and it opens up your heart and brings more positive things into your life. Because I feel like you're going to see that. You're going to see more abundance, more blessings, more ease in your life, as well as more creative energy, whether that is the ability to think more creatively, to think outside the box on things, or whether your like artistic creativity opens up or your intuition opens up. It's going to release some blocks for you. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I wish you much love, much light, many, many blessings. Peace out, and I'll see you in the next one.